So our first speaker of the day is Chris Rock. So Chris spoke last year in my speaking track, gave an excellent talk, and it was only 20 minutes long, but it was phenomenal. You guys are in for a real treat. Let's give Chris Rock a big hand.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming to the talk today, guys. I know there's a lot of great talks at the moment. There's a lot of Internet of Things that you can go and see, but I think you'll enjoy this talk. This is a talk that I thought I would never talk about. I was never going to talk about this because it was a little bit risky, but I think now that this is the best time to do this talk, not because of all the elections and all that sort of stuff that's been happening now with the Clinton emails, for example, but there was an article that was released. I'll show you the slide. The US National Intelligence Director, James Clapper, said that cyber espionage came second. We came second to ISIS. Now, I don't want to live in a world where ISIS is scarier than hackers, especially in 2016. We previously held the title in 2013, 14 and 15, and to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed when I saw this result. So I thought, I'm in my 40s now, there's a lot of young hackers in the audience, and I'm not going to pass the baton to you guys unless we have that number one spot back in our path. So let's have a quick look at ISIS. A bit of a no-brainer here. When you have an occupier of an occupied country, you have a terrorist organisation. Nothing has changed throughout history. I know it's a simplistic view, but it is an accurate view. So the first thing we need to do is when we lose, and we did lose, we came second. We beat North Korea, that's really good. They got nukes, they're pretty scary. But we can hack anything we want. I know there's a lot of people in this audience could hack anything I ask them to hack. Banks, government, whatever. We just need to put it all together. So the first thing that we need to do is work out why we came second. So let's have a look at ISIS. Let's see how they fight. I just need some audio. That jack. No. Now, this video is a little bit violent, so if there's any kids in the audience that have come by Roots, I apologise. But I showed it to my 8-year-old son and he was cool with it. If he's cool with it, you guys will be cool with it. So let's have a look at our competition. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think that was pretty embarrassing that we came second to that. So now that we've analysed our enemy, let's have a look at ourselves. So the Sony hack, that was a great hack. I love watching those movies every week. The Ashley Madison hack, my wife and her lawyer really loved that hack, seeing my name up on that list. Now, the Pokemon Go hack. Now I know why we came second with that shit, with that denial of service on Pokemon Go. Thank you, Poodle Corp. And even my talk about death did not impress James Clapper enough to give us position number 1. So the reason I'm giving this talk is to rectify that. And to do that, I need to escape away from our normal hacking environment, and we need to skill up a little bit. The reason we did come second is we were too tunnel focused. We had tunnel vision. We didn't look outside. So I thought what I'll need to do is I contacted a mercenary. He'll be able to teach me some tactics in coups, revolutions, and then I'll see if I can apply that and see if I can do a coup or revolution myself. So I contacted this guy. His name's Simon Mann, and I'll let him tell you about himself.
My name is Simon Mann, and I'm helping Chris Rock with his work to see if a coup d'etat, a putsch, the overthrow of a regime, could be achieved by computer hacking and by cyber warfare methods. My background to that is that I led the 2004 attempted coup against the regime of Equatorial Guinea. That attempt failed. I was arrested. I spent 5.5 years in prison for that. Prior to that, in 1993, I was one of the founding people of Executive Outcomes, South African private military contractor, which is credited with winning the ghastly civil wars, first in Angola against the rebels, UNITA, and then in Sierra Leone against the rebels there. I served in the first Gulf War on the staff of Sir Peter de la Billière. My 10 years prior to all of that was as a British Army officer. I served in the Special Air Service as a troop commander and an anti-terrorist team commander, as well as in the Scots Guards as a platoon commander, and did tours in Northern Ireland with both of those units.
So he's a master of his field and I'm a master of mine, so I thought it'd be good if we could combine the two together. So why would we use mercenaries? Obviously, the clandestine, there's no governments that are linked to the mercenaries. They're loyal, so as long as you pay them, they're yours. And it's not a war if you use mercenaries. So this is a traditional mercenary coup structure. So the important position there is the architect, and you can see a picture of Simon Mann there with the gun. Now he's the man that pulls the levers. So above him, for example, we have special interest groups. So this is traditional organisations such as the CIA or private companies who have got oil interests and things like financiers. Now under his direct personnel, he has obviously advisors, and that's an important role too. So when you guys are looking at doing this sort of stuff for real, you might decide that you're an architect or an advisor. It really depends on how you think. And you can see Simon would have ground, air, and he would also have sea. But now he's developed the digital domain as well, which you'll see in the future. Because let's face it, the digital domain, in terms of intelligence about what we can pull, is very important. And again, there's the ground people as well. So we've got Rambo down there and Tom Cruise. But these are the ground. So in terms of a cyber perspective, we're talking about hackers. So for example, in Simon Mann's failed coup in 2004, his special interest groups were people like who provided finance were the Spanish government. There was also Sir Mark Thatcher, which was Margaret Thatcher's son, who provided finance and an airplane to move the mercenaries around. So here's some traditional mercenary companies. So you can see the CIA down the bottom in the left-hand corner. And you'll see, obviously, Blackwater. You guys know Blackwater quite well. But you'll see also in the middle with the buffalo sign in the middle, that's there was a 32 battalion in the South African Defence Force. They were guerrilla fighters. They fought in Angola and modern-day Namibia. And that was part of the South African Defence Force. After apartheid was abolished in '93, these guys were out of a job. So they became mercenaries. So the companies to the right of the buffaloes, such as Executive Outcome, Aegis and Sandline, for example, are companies that were set up by mercenaries who came out of that battalion. So when you guys are looking at overthrowing a government, you really have three options. We have the election, so rigging an election. Now, an election is a legitimate way of changing government every 3 or 4 years, not in every country, but most countries. We can incite a revolution or a coup. So you guys are experiencing this at the moment. So the election, you're already seeing some email leaks with Trump and Hillary Clinton. I was watching this morning about someone was talking about the size of Trump's hand, which I thought was fucking ridiculous. But I think what they're doing, what WikiLeaks doing is releasing this information is great, but it's just not really what I'd be looking for in terms of using an election to overthrow a government. So I'd be looking at like a 12 days before Christmas or 12 days before an election tack. It doesn't have to be real. We already own everything. We already own banks, investment companies. So we can use the items on the right-hand side just to fake whatever we want. So when someone goes towards an election, they can just use those things there on the right-hand side. So you can actually move money between the parties, and we'll have a look at that in depth a bit later on. In my country, Australia, we got an SMS just before we went to the polls. Medicare is a bit like your Obamacare, and it looked like the SMS was from Medicare, and it was pretty much to scare people into voting for the other party. So a technique that you can use to throw an election. And again, the WikiLeaks for email leaks. As I said, this one's been going for too long. These things should be done in rapid succession to get into the voters' mind just before they go to vote. Okay, the second method we have is a revolution. So here's a couple of revolutions in history. You guys have had one. We had Egypt in 2011 and Ukraine in 2014. So for those who don't know, Ukraine 2014, the president of Ukraine was about to sign a deal with the EU, get $700 million in loans, and then Putin stepped in and offered them $2 to $3 billion. To get rid of that. So the people revolted against that, and we'll have a look at that a little bit later on. The other option is the coup d'etat. So you saw that recently in Turkey, where a small portion of the army, or in our case mercenaries, tried to overthrow the government by force. And you'll see there just some examples of coups, and American government was involved in the first two of those. So in terms of where we'd want to start in overthrowing a government, we start down the bottom. So we have what's called tactical operations or low-intensity operations. So this is where you want to weaken the government with insurgency, sanctions, or really just telling them they're doing a bad job. Example I put up there for the revolution. So if those fail, we have the revolution, which we saw in Ukraine. And the picture there is the deputy PM in 2013, before the revolution, was complaining that the American government were doing exercises called Tech Camp, and they're actually teaching the people of Ukraine on how to organise protests via Twitter and Facebook. And he's complaining that the American government are causing the revolution before it happened. If a revolution is not going to work, then we look at the coup. So the Iran coup over 51 to 53 was done by the British government and the US government. And if that fails, we look at an invasion. So before Panama was invaded, there were 5 failed coups before Manuel Noriega was replaced in 1989. Things you need to watch out for when you're doing a revolution. These are the 5 things that will try to stop your revolution. So the government in power, for example, saying that they're going to have new or fresh elections. Something called strategic hamletting, which is separating the insurgents from the population used in the Vietnam War. The third one, which we'll talk about a bit later, called cash grants. So you're pretty much bribing the people to shut them up. The third one is a middle alternative. So we have a left party, a right party, and you offer a middle party. These are all techniques just to quiet the population down. You just have to be aware of these because they may happen if you're going to try to set up a revolution. And the last one is economic development organisations and hospital school building. So when you see the military invade a country, for example, like Iraq, and they're building schools and all that sort of crap, it's all just bullshit. They're just keeping an eye on the population to stop a revolution happening post that event. That's good publicity as well. Some techniques for preventing coups. So the private army or the mercenary, private military contractor. So Colonel Gaddafi with his 3,000 Revolutionary Guards, the Saudi royal family with its 25,000 white army, and you guys have your own National Guard, your private military force protecting each state. I mean, it's a great anti-coup measure, so you really don't have any central point to overthrow the government of the US. There's also spies. So Assad for Syria, for example, has these spy agencies that spy on the military and spy on each other to make sure that no overthrow takes place, there's no coup. And that works quite well. They work so well that a civil war is now in place in Syria, as you guys know. And obviously, you guys have a lot of intelligence organisations for this as well. One thing I wanted to bring up is the fake coup. You've got to be aware of the fake coup. So on the screen, you'll see some different coup types, and you're welcome to study those. And there's some material on your CDs which talk about different types of coups. But when your opposition is getting close, you want to arrest them and just say that they're causing a coup. This worked well in Turkey in early 2000, where the AKP party arrested generals and journalists to say that they were creating a coup. Now, this actually didn't really happen. There was digital evidence that had been modified, and these guys were cleared. And then, obviously, there was another coup just recently. We don't know whether it was fake or not yet. There's a little bit of theory, guys, to get you started. And I wanted to talk to you. I'm not really much of a theory guy. I need to know how to create a coup or a revolution, but now I want to apply it to a real country. Operation Nanny Goat, 2011. So you guys would have heard of Kuwait, a small oil-producing country, nestled between Iraq and Saudi Arabia, about 3 or 4 million people. That's a picture of Kuwait. Actually, it looks like this, so it's pretty close. No, seriously, this is what Kuwait is. It's a beautiful city. So what we'll do is let's have a look at Kuwait City. This is the government and also family tree. They're pretty much exactly the same thing. We have the Emir up the top. You might see a common link in the last names. Al-Sabah, all the way through. So we have the Emir, Crown Prince, the Prime Minister. His name is Nasser Al-Sabah, and then you can see the Foreign Affairs and Defence Ministries. Now, what we want to do here is we want to overthrow Prime Minister Nasser. And for those who know the Unaoil scandal, the bribery scandal, they referred to him as the big cheese. So this is the standard intelligence that mercenaries or militaries will use. You guys probably will know this sort of stuff, like the NSA and also embassies, spies, and Five Eyes. But what can we use? So we can use private intelligence agencies, WikiLeaks, for example. And I don't know if you guys can read that, but what they referred to Sheikh Nasser Al-Sabah is perceived as politically incompetent protocol wonk, whose record is tarnished by his failure to construct and effectively manage his cabinet. But I believe the best intelligence is the one you hack yourself, and I want to hack all the government to find out what he's up to. Okay, so looking at the intelligence, we think corruption is going to be the big point in this one. Here's a map of Kuwait, and you can see the green, which is the oil fields of Kuwait. And the people are not happy that the government are rich, and the people feel really poor. Now, corruption is not going to work in every country. You're going to have to find the weakness in each country. For example, Anonymous thought they would attack Nigeria on their corruption, which is pretty fucking pointless, because that is Nigeria's biggest export. It won't work there. So what are our options for overthrow? Elections? No. There's no real elections. Those 3 top parties there, the Emir, Crown Prince and the Prime Minister, there's no elections for those guys. The elections are for the guys below that. So we're not going to look at the election. coup d'etat? No, it's too hot. So here's a map of Kuwait. The white dots is the US military bases, the green is the Kuwait army, and the purple is the Air Force. They also have 7,000 soldiers protecting the royal family. So coup, I'm not a big fan of racing against those forces. So it looks like revolution is our only option. So in 2011, you guys will probably remember this was the Arab Spring. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the countries that recently fell. And on the right-hand side, you'll see a timeline of the countries in that region that either fell by revolution, coup, assassination, or just protest. And you can see Kuwait down the bottom in light blue, cabinet resigns. So here's an extract from Edward Luttwak. If you guys want to do these sort of coups or revolutions, you're going to have to study up on this guy. He's pretty much a master for strategy. And this illustration shows what the intelligence agencies need to go through to find out whether there's a coup taking place. So on the y-axis, we have all the data the intelligence agencies are going to go through. On the A in coup planning leakage, that is when I'm planning a coup operation of what's going to leak out when I talk to my advisors and the hackers. The blue line above is noise or levels, and the green line here, coup plus noise data, is all the intelligence that come through, and the little X point is when the coup is uncovered. Obviously, you want to keep your OPSEC quite low so you don't get detected. So with our cyber mercenary structure, same as the traditional mercenary, we're going to use things such as denial of service attacks, social engineering, and all our normal hacking stuff. And it's your job as the architect to employ the advisors to get the people on the ground, such as hackers from your country or overseas countries. You'll need to map out all the targets of the country that you want to hack. So we're talking about government, media, electricity, oil, gas, all those sort of agencies. And you want to map out what you want to hack. Now, I'm not really much of a strategic in terms of what items I want to hack, so I just hacked them all. At least then I had the options of what lever I wanted to pull. So as a hacker, we know what sort of tools we use on a normal day-to-day basis. You're going to have to learn some new techniques and tools. Not hard. You just need to do a little bit of research. I've just got a couple of them up there. A lot of them have to do with misinformation. So when we're hacking into banks, we want to move money around to make it look really dodgy. And also things like professional agitation. So we want to employ people to do protests like union members and also university students. Now, you're going to have to finance this operation. I probably wouldn't recommend this method. We nearly got our goal, but by using the chart below, you say that we got. It didn't take long before we got uncovered. So I'm a big fan in robbing banks. They've got lots of money, so we'll use the bank's money. You can also use the banks for depositing fake corruption payments, and I'll show you that in a second, terrorism payments or breaking the bank, such as removing all the money from the banks. And then Hillary Clinton pretty much said here that we've got the green light to attack these countries here. Saudis, Qataris and Kuwaitis need to stop their citizens from funding extremist organisations. Another tactic you can use is move money between private accounts from these terrorists into private accounts such as Hillary Clinton and use that evidence to paint a bad picture of her. Or Trump, I don't care who wins. They're both lunatics. So let's get into the real world. Here's the Central Bank of Kuwait. That's what it looks like in 2011 on the left-hand side, and that's what it looks like now in 2016. Obviously, if you can't hack in through the front door, use the stuff that you've got around. We don't have to use a 0 day. We've got 1,000 targets to hack. Don't get all fancy pants on me and use 0 days. Just use whatever you can. So whether it be a LAN turtle or a Raspberry Pi, or you can see the little box there. I don't know if you guys know what that is. The fourth picture along, that's an NSTLU slug. It's a NAS box, which you use as a PC or a rat, so a physical rat within an organisation. Or what we did is we just hacked in the front door. If you can't hack in through the front door, just pay a cleaner and they will put one of these implants in for you. Average cleaning salary in Kuwait is about $150 a week, so you give them $2,000, which you'll use from robbing the banks. They'll plant them in there for you. So what we want to do for corruption is we want to steal money from the government and put it in private banks accounts of the government. So there's a picture of Nasser, and there's a couple of banks in Kuwait and an offshore bank. So now that we own the central bank, we need to hack private banks. Now, we didn't know from our intelligence which banks he had bank accounts with, so we just hacked them all. By hacking them all, we can then move money between those bank accounts. So we used government money and funded the private bank accounts. By doing this too, we could also create bribe payments as well. Also, there's a lot of money in stocks and finance too, so you want to hack those as well, even to crash the stock market. And again, we went through the front door. So you want to know what your government's up to, whether they're onto you, or you just want to see what weaknesses there are in the government. So you'll need to hack into the government too, listen to their emails, their phone calls, the Interior Ministry, their judges, everything. These are live shots of hacked government departments. One thing you want to hack too is the telco. So telcos are not just phone calls these days. Telcos are media, telcos are internet. You want to siphon the internet, or you want to squish the internet, for example. This is a prime case where you want to kill the internet at the right time, or keep it open if they try and close it. So obviously MPLS, point of presence POPs, you want to hack into those. You want to be able to stream your own media to get the people angry. Obviously companies now using telcos for cloud services and security services. So Zajil is the biggest company in Kuwait, who also provide security services for these companies. So you want to hack in, just like what we did. That way you can control the flow of information. You own the ISP, you own the country. Which brings us to global warming. You might think, why are we talking about global warming? So obviously they wanted to make sure they reduced emissions by 2050, and the G8 and the EU came together and said, what we need to do is map out current infrastructure such as oil, gas, and find out what's going on with global warming. So we can use websites like Anypedia to find out where things are, such as power, oil, and nuclear plants. So you just plug in your country and it'll show you all the maps. Now, why would you want to cut these services? It's a no-brainer. When you want to do a revolution or coup, you want to cut the power at specific times or cut the water to piss people off. And that does piss people off when they live in the desert. And also your energy sector as well, for example. There's studies online if you want to have a look at that. High voltage transformer units make up less than 3% of transformers in the US, but carry 60% of the power. So how do you map those out? You guys have websites that do that for you. So all you do is just tick high voltage transformer lines, and it'll just tell where all the power comes from if you want to disrupt power. So you're going to need to study what a power station looks like to disrupt it. So when I was talking to Simon Mann, he said to me, just blow it up. I said, I'm not Zols, I don't have C4, I'm just going to chuck on the bloody thing. So he said, what you need to do is disrupt power. Okay, no worries. So I thought, well, I can hack into power, so why don't I just shut it off that way? So here we have a transformer. This is not a picture, this is not an American picture, so this is not your critical infrastructure, Your Honour. This is a picture. This is an Australian transformer. So the transformers down below and up the top, we have what we call mineral oil that keeps it cool. And when a transformer doesn't have oil, it doesn't work. So there's no power. In 2014 in California, someone was shooting at these things, drained the oil, and then you guys were out of power for 27 days, and they just had to reroute power from another substation. So Simon suggested if you want to get hands-on, you can shoot them, drill them, or angle grind them to drain that oil. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do that. And I failed to hack in. I fucked up. I couldn't do it. So you guys have probably seen these before. They're these spinning blades that they put on a helicopter that chop trees away from power lines. For those who haven't seen it, I'll just a quick look. Pretty cool. And it chops trees from power lines. Now I thought, well, that's pretty cool, but I actually want to chop power lines myself. Well, I don't have a helicopter, but why don't I use a drone? So I thought, I'll make my own. So what we have here is two 8-inch circular blades attached to part of a bike frame, and those discs spin really fast, attached to a cordless drill. And you'll see that on the second picture I've actually removed the battery, and I've actually removed the battery from the pack, only because the battery kept getting caught on the power line, so I removed it. So how does it work? I'll show you. So that's a great device for cutting power lines. So that's the 5-pound model, and you can actually reduce it, and you can make it, we can get it under 3 pounds, so you can do it to the weaker drones. So you just use a series of drones, put the coordinates in, and it'll just run straight through the power lines. The cables I used there were copper. The ones that are on power lines are aluminium, so it'll go straight through those. If you're going to make one of these, be really fucking careful. So there is no safety shit involved. Now, if you're a bit of a tight ass, and you've got a small drone, just hook a 10-metre hose to your drone with a piece of wire and run it over the power line. And once it hooks onto the power line, it will drag it across and drop it over the power lines and just arc them. So that's the cheap version. So now that we own everything and we can hack everything, including the banks, we need to understand how the media works. So we need to reverse engineer them. And that's what we do for a living. So why don't we do it with the media? So what we do is we apply what's called the two-source rule. So the media need two sources to use it as a story. And I've got the sources on the right-hand side and types of sources. So you want to need at least two sources to fool the media. Or you can actually pawn a few media outlets that we did from the telco, publish information, and then just release it. You want to release the information to the news agency that will release that information when they've been questioning it. So, for example, Fox News, you want to use the Hillary Clinton information. They'll publish it and they won't even give a shit. You don't want to do it in reverse because they're not going to publish it. They've got no interest in doing that. So what we did is, in 2011, we used Kuwait Central Bank. We already own them. So we use unnamed government officials to transfer millions of dollars outside the accounts into their private bank accounts. And we used the New York Times to do the same thing, using that two-source rule. Now, one of my idiot advisors thought this would be a great idea. He thought using a Kuwaiti prince convert to Christianity would be a good idea, and went with it. He did get the publicity he was after. We got 100 media outlets that went with that, but it was just a stupid idea. You need to use the people in this. When the CIA are planning a coup or revolution, you need to get the people on side. You've got money in your hands. You need to use bribes. So use this sort of money to pay people to put implants within companies, professional agitation, misinformation, or get corporate people to do stuff for you. You've got to heat the population up enough to give a shit to overthrow the government. So, for example, the professional agitators, you would have a group of people that you would pay to cause a protest, and then you would get another group of protesters dressed in police uniforms to bash them up, and then you get that on the news. And if they won't publish it on the news, you publish your own news. You own the telco. When you're planning the operation, you need to plan it down to the absolute detail, and you need to be flexible because shit just won't go right. You might lose a rat. You just need to have the plan for changes in your operation. So I've talked a lot, and I want to show you how it works in the real world. So I put a video together just to show how it works.
hundreds of protesters outside Kuwait's parliament chant, "The people want to bring down the Prime Minister." They are demanding the removal of Prime Minister Sheikh Nasser al-Mohammed al-Sabah, whom they accuse of corruption.
As demonstrators break through gates and enter the main chamber. Police reportedly beat up protesters who were marching towards the Prime Minister's residence, demanding he resign. A member of the ruling family, Sheikh Nasser Mohammed al-Ahmad al-Sabah, is accused of failing to stem endemic corruption in Kuwait.
Okay, guys, what I want to leave you with now is for the new hackers in the new generation is just think bigger. So don't try and hack bigger targets, but combine multiple targets and look outside of your industry to combine multiple things together. That's it, guys, and then we'll be number one again.